Hello and welcome to the Big Balloon with me, Phileas Flash, bing bang bong. Now guys, I can't believe it, we're on episode 3 already and I still haven't made a single balloon dog. Look. So I thought today we should start the show with a balloon dog. You can tell he's a dog, look, he's wagging his tail. Hello? Yeah, get on with it. Okay, oh, the aerial, bad signal because the aerial was that way. Yeah, I'll tell you what, why don't I do this behind my back and that way I can tell you all about what's coming up on the show. Oh, yeah, you can tell I'm good at the art of public squeaking, so I'm going to speak up a little, just over all this squeaky noise. Oh, yeah, coming up, oh, one-handed, pretty flash. Coming up on today's show, we've got one of my favourite segments. That's called Balloon Heroes, and that's when I make a balloon out of a celebrity. No, I make a celebrity out of balloons, not the other way around. That would just be terrible, wouldn't it? Yeah, so that's coming up. That's really cool. What else have I got going on? Oh, yeah. You're going to get to learn to make a balloon. Instead of making the balloon behind my back, I'm going to be making it in front of you so you can see how to make a balloon of your own, something super cool and easy. What else today? Oh, yeah, of course. This show is called The Big Balloon for a reason, and that is because every time we do this show, I always make an extra cool big balloon. Yeah, like this dog is. It's amazing, isn't it, what you can do with one little 260 balloon. Hey, I'm looking for Phileas Flash. Have you seen him anywhere? Oh, that's him hiding in the corner. Not very convinced by my puppetry skills then, I guess. But that's okay. We all have unique skills and mine is making balloons and bad jokes. But our balloon hero this week, wow, now that was a man who knew about puppets and he changed the whole art form of puppetry on TV. Yeah, so would you like to meet him? Okay, well, I'll tell you, if you're going to meet him, it's time to put on makeup and it's time to dress up right because it's our special guest on the Big Balloon tonight. Yay! Because our balloon hero is the one and only Mr. Jim Henson. Isn't that awesome? I was going to do a Kermit the Frog impersonation, but that's about as good as my puppeteering. Yeah. Not only was Jim Henson the creator of the famous Kermit the Frog, he also invented the Muppets, and he was a producer of Sesame Street. That's right, Big Bird would never have existed without Jim Henson. And Sesame Street is a great clue to what the Big Balloon is this week. Yeah, it's not a Muppet canary, but it's certainly a bird. Oh, you're probably wondering what I'm doing. Well, my air conditioning's on the blink, so I'm using my balloon pump. Not very effective. But I'll tell you what, that means it's almost time for our super cool How to Make a Balloon Animal feature. And I'm going to tell you, today's is really awesome, so I know you're going to be thrilled to learn. Oh, and talking of learning, we really ought to learn what our big balloon is going to be today. Oh, look. G is for guess. Yeah, we've been working through the alphabet with our clues over the last few weeks. Last week we had D, E, F, so now we're at G. And this one's kind of a hard clue, but, well, this particular bird you can find globally. Yeah, it's very, very common all over the world. In fact, there are 300 different types of it. What else? Oh, H. H is a fantastic clue because H stands for homing. Yeah, this bird is famed for its ability to find its way home. Final letter is I, as in I'm pumping iron, or in this case, international, because this particular bird is known to be the international symbol of peace. How cool is that? So have you guessed what it is yet? All right, I'll tell you what, you shout it out and I'll tell you if you got it right. Hey, yeah, that's exactly right. Today's particular big balloon is a dove. Look at that. Not very peaceful today, this dove. Oi! Thank goodness I gave him a rubber beak. Ow! Now, some of you might have got a bit confused over the H clue, thinking homing. But as I said, this is a very large family of birds. You might have thought that it was, instead of a dove, it was a pigeon. But as you can tell, both these birds are very well related. Yeah, there are 300 different species of this particular type of bird, which includes doves and pigeons. And because of that, the big balloon is going to be a dove, but the little balloon I'm going to show you how to make right now is going to be this pigeon. So, grab your twisting balloons and your pumps, because it's time to learn how to make a super cool and easy balloon animal. To make a pigeon of your very own, you're going to need 2 grade 260s to start with. We're going to leave a 4-finger tail on the first 260 and leave it nice and squishy. So give it a good burp. Now, you're going to pinch a little bubble, just like this, and that's about a finger-sized bubble. And then you're going to make a loop, a bit like if you were making a pirate sword. You'd do much the same thing. Twist that in and pass the little bubble through the loop just to lock it in place, like that. Okay. Now we're going to make 2 of these little squishy loops. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Just repeat it exactly, another 4-finger loop, and then I'm going to twist that little bubble through and lock it in place. Now remember, if I go too quickly, you can always pause this or go back on the video. That's the wonders of modern technology. Ding dong dong! And now we have something that looks a bit like an elephant. I'm going to make a 4-finger bubble. So remember to twist the same direction. I'm then going to make a smaller bubble, another 2-finger bubble here, and turn that into a pinch twist by pinching the 2 twists together. And you should have something like this. Next up, I'm going to match that 4-finger bubble and go back in between the 2 loops. Now notice I squished the air down. I want my balloon nice and squishy, because as I think I mentioned last time, if the balloon gets too tight, it's going to pop. So we want somewhere where the air can go. Okay, so now we have something that looks like a mouse. An elephant's natural enemy. Next up, oh yeah, I'm going to make 1 more bubble. And these 3 4-finger bubbles are going to form the neck of our pigeon or dove. Okay, these 2 loops will be the head, and we have this bubble here which will help to position the head later. So I'm just going to pull the knot along a bit. Now I always leave my knots nice and loose so I can do that so they're not under too much pressure. So I've just wrapped that knot around here, I say that joke every week, and making sure everything's squishy, and I'm then going to put that balloon under my arm to make it smell better. Alright, yeah, I just want it out of my way. Now this balloon is a little bit more inflated, so it's a 3-finger bubble, a 3-finger tail at the end, but still, it's nice and squishy, okay? Alright, so this time, we're going to make a, let's see, yeah, we're going to make about a 5-finger bubble here. And we want this bubble to be nice and squishy. Okay, I'm going to make a small bubble, 1.5 finger to 2-finger bubble. And then I'm going to do the same thing, keeping the rest of the balloon in my hand so that it doesn't come undone. That's the trick here, okay? It doesn't just roll out. I'm then going to squish the air down towards the knot. And you see what I said there about rolling out? Yeah, so I'm going to make a small bubble at the end by the knot, and I'm then going to make 2 4-finger bubbles. So I'm just going to squeeze it in to the main balloon to give us this shape. Okay, so yeah, 4 fingers. And this is going to form the tail of our pigeon. 6 fingers. 6-finger bubble. You see, this is quite easy really when you're probably not thinking that if you're a beginner, but it is pretty easy. It's just folding back on itself again. Okay, so we're wrapping around that little bubble again. And then, my darlings and my dearios, we're going to squeeze the air down just to make sure that little bubble's not under too much pressure. Feed it through the tail to lock it in place. Oh, did you see that bubbles come out at the top? I'll come back to that. So now it's locked, I can go back and fix this. Just making sure that I twist it the same way that I twisted it initially. Okay, now I've got a nice tail. Look at that. I'm then going to take this bubble back. Now this, the third part of this, or the third bubble on this body section, is just a tiny bit longer than the other two. Maybe another finger or so. And then I'm just going to position it. Yeah, I'm going to tie the knot around. I'm still tempted to say that same bad joke. I'm going to tie the knot around to give us this, this bit which will help us position the pigeon's tail. Pretty cool, hey? There we go. Boop. And yeah, now we're getting somewhere. We're very close to attaching the neck to the body now. So we're going to take the pinch twist and we're going to go to the area of least resistance, which is the balloon that's not tied into anything, if you see what I mean, the longer piece section of the balloon. Okay, and that should now leave us two long sections of balloon. 1, 2. I'm going to squeeze the air down each of them, and try and get them to be roughly the same size. And then I'm going to tie the two pieces together. Now, if your balloon is a bit too much under pressure to do that, you could always make two little bubbles, because this section here is actually going to be hidden anyway. Okay, so a little bit fiddly, but there we go. Now tied, and I'm going to tie it twice to make sure that it doesn't come undone. Oh, we're pretty close actually. Yeah, so there we go. Now these are going to form the wings. You might have noticed in the pigeon that was attacking me just now, the wings were a bit smaller than the ones I'm going to make on this one. So it's really your choice. If you can make these balloons a bit smaller if you wanted to. They don't have to be this size, but just do it before you tie them in. Oh yeah, I'm just going to feed that pinch twist around through one of the two triplets, just to make it all a bit tighter and hold together a bit better. Okay, so watch. This is where the wings are going. They're going between underneath one and over the other two on the triplet, if you see what I mean. It's as clear as mud, Phileas. Okay, just like that. So the one bubble there is going to form the back of the bird. That's the one that's a little bit longer than the other two, okay? And the two are going to become the underbelly of the bird. Okay, so his feet can go in between. I'm just going to use the heat from my hand and a little bit of squeezing just to shape the balloon. And that just gives it a nice wing shape. Now, as I said, this one has larger wings, so his wings are out. My tail is facing the wrong way. I'd rather have it sitting up a bit for this particular bird, like that. And now we get to this head, which already kind of looks a bit like a duck head, really, doesn't it? I guess if I gave it eyes, it could just be a duck head. And in fact, we're going to make the eyes now using this scrap. I know it's a full balloon, but really it could be a scrap of black 260. All I'm going to do is I've inflated that. What's that? 3. So about a 6-finger bubble, and I'm going to make it nice and really nice and squishy, super squishy. Okay, and I'm going to tie the two ends together. So you have something that looks a little bit like this. There you go. Nice. And you're going to have something like that. Okay. Super squishy. Now I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm just going to trim off what will become the scrap for the next time I make a pigeon or whatever else I need a scrap of black for. Put that to one side and go back to these bubbles. You're going to use a hand or two hands and squish the two twists together like this and rotate. Okay, now this is why we wanted it nice and squishy, okay, because these are what really holds the two sides of the head together. Yeah, so the eyes are going on either side of the head. So I'll push this one through here, just like that. And then I'm going to go to the other side and push the other side through. So I guess the sizing of those two loops is kind of critical. If you're struggling at this point, you could always use a scrap to tie those two sides of the loop together, or those two loops together. But you know, with a bit of practice, you should get the sizing so it's consistent, just like mine is here, and you get this really nice clean look to your pigeon, that lovely round shaped head. Okie doke, we're going to go on to the beak. And I haven't inflated this balloon because I wanted to show you what I'm going to do with it. First off, I'm going to go three of my fingers down the balloon, and I'm going to tie a little knot in it. Okay, I'm going to tighten that knot up. Then I am going to grab my scissors and I am going to cut the longer section of the balloon off just underneath the knot. So that now gives me, from the nozzle end of the balloon, a tiny little section of balloon which I'm going to inflate like that. And this still has a tail, so the air still can move somewhere along it. And to make it nice and squishy, because squishy balloons are always good. Tie it off. Okay, and I'm just going to make a small bubble. Oh, hang on, I'll do it so you can see. Squish the air down. Make a small bubble. I'm then going to make a larger bubble, maybe a 2-finger bubble. And I'm holding these bubbles in my hand so they don't just unravel. I'm then going to make an even larger bubble of 3-finger bubble. And then with the remainder, I'm just making another little bubble the same size as that first one. And you're going to get something that kind of looks a bit like a little miniature snail. I'm going to tidy that up, not that I really need to, but I'm tidied up by hiding the knots inside it. And now we're going to go back to my bird, and this is going to form the beak of the bird. So I could just pull it apart and stick it just in here, but to make it easier for you to see, I think I'll just push the eye back out so you can see exactly where this connects. So it's just going on this bit of uninflated balloon in the middle. So an eye on either side. Aye, aye, Captain. Such a bad joke. I is for aye, Captain. It's really not, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm now going to put that loop back over the eye, just like this. And there you go. And I'm just going to squish the eye the loop around a little bit, just to make the eye in a nice position, and then position that beak to wherever I want it to be. And really, you could stop just here. If you were making a dove in flight, that would probably be all you'd need to do. But we are making a pigeon, because I thought it was a bit funnier to make a pigeon. So I'm going to give him feet. Now, I'm using the rest of the orange balloon. 4-finger tail again. Nice and squishy, so I burped the balloon as you just saw. And now I'm just going to make the knot. Nice and squishy. Make a small bubble. Finger bubble, then a 2-finger bubble, and a second 2-finger bubble. Ooh, I made those a little bit big actually. Okay, doesn't matter. Should be good, should be good. We're then going to make the leg. That was the foot, if you hadn't guessed. So the leg's a 3 or 4-finger bubble. Oh, yeah, I made those toes a bit too big actually. So I'm squishing the air down the balloon. I'm going to frantically try and fit all this out of it in the same balloon. I'm going to make a little pinch twist at the top of that 3 or 4-finger bubble. Squish the air down as far as I can. Make another pinch twist. Because it's going to be positioned in a similar way to the way the beak was positioned earlier. So you won't actually see those pinch twists. Yeah, squeeze the air down as far as I can go. We're going to match up this foot. Hopefully your sizing is going to be better than mine when I'm teaching this. So we're going to just make 2 more toes, and I'm going to use a little bubble from the balloon. Stretch the balloon. Hey, if you didn't know, this is obviously why I'm doing it. This is a way of stretching balloons. Because they're made of latex, they're quite flexible. So you can stretch a balloon by pulling it just like that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to make that little bubble and feed it around to give us feet. Okay, so our pigeon's, one of his feet is a bit smaller than the others, but no one would notice really, generally. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to take these 2 pinch twists, and I'm going to go between the stomach of the bird. And I'm going to find that little loop, or it would be 2 bubbles if you made 2 bubbles instead. The little bit of uninflated balloon, the knot where I tied the 2 wings together. And I'm going to thread these bubbles just around there. Okay, then tuck the bubbles back inside, and you now have 2 feet for your pigeon, so he can stand and look pretty. And yet again, you could just leave our pigeon here. He's pretty much done, but you know, I really like to add the last bit of a detail. So I'm going to take an uninflated yellow balloon, and what I've done is I've just puff inflated a little bit of air into it, either with my pump or using my breath, and I've tied a load of little knots in there. So I haven't actually inflated the balloon, I've just made, well, I kind of have inflated it, but only just enough that it's not actually stretching the balloon out. It's just like an uninflated balloon. And all I'm doing is I'm just going to make a little loop around the beak, just by tying the 2 ends together. Okay. I'm just going to tie these 2 together, and yeah, I'll tell you what. Yeah, now you notice I made a few little knots. Look, I'll take it off and you can see. You notice I made a few little knots in there. The more knots that are in the uninflated balloon, the less chance there is of the air escaping from it. It doesn't tend to hold as much air as a fully inflated 260. And now you have that little bit that goes over the nose of a pigeon, I guess. I'm then going to take the remainder of that 260 and just to make everything a bit more secure, I'm just going to tie it around that pinch twist at the back of the head. Okay, and there you have our lovely pigeon. So if I just cut off this scrap here, we are all done. Oh, I better knot it just to make sure that the air stays inside it. Yeah, and then cut off the scrap. There we go. Beautiful. We're all done. I'll then tuck that little bit away, or not, as the case may be. And now our pigeon is good to go. I'm just practicing my pigeon English. Hey, it's not much point practicing pigeon because I've made a dove. Now, the difference generally between pigeons and doves is that doves are smaller than pigeons, but not in this case. Are you ready to see how I made this week's big balloon? See my house from up here. Oh, it's the pilot speaking. Oh no, it's only me. It's my phone. I should have turned it on for the flight. No. Isn't that silly? Anyway, whew, look at that. I keep thinking that these balloons are going to get smaller, and every time they get bigger. This one was so big, I had to fill the whole corner of my basement. Look at that. I feel tiny compared to him. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the big balloon today. You don't get much bigger than that. If you did enjoy it, give me a big thumbs up. Maybe not quite that big. A big thumbs up like that. And if you do have any ideas of anything you'd like to suggest for me to make here in my basement, well then send your suggestions to me, Phileas Flash, that's Flash Balloons on Facebook. And don't, whatever you do, forget to subscribe.